Is a precious planet which provides us with all the resources we need to survive. I am so glad that the whole city is not just buildings, but we also have beautiful trees and flowers. Trees make shade, food, and shelter for many. As we build cities to develop the country, forests are cleared and nature is affected.
Cutting down trees may also affect us because it can cause climate change.
8 million tons of plastic waste enters the ocean every year. We need to reduce plastic in the oceans because they are home to a huge variety of wildlife. Animals get trapped in it, which can cause them to suffocate.
A carelessly thrown wrapper could end up choking in the drain, which could prevent water being drained during a downpour.
Destruction of a forest or an oil spill in the ocean create ripples that impact our lives and livelihoods.
However, it does not have to be this way. To build a city in nature, we need to think and act as one community.
Urban farms create more sustainable and reliable food sources.
It is fun and we can have vegetables like lettuce and Thai every day.
Will also do my part for nature by planting flowers and trees. Preserve forests, preserve nature.
We should encourage and support conservation efforts in preserving Singapore's mangrove forest projects. They are the natural coastal defense against erosion, flood, and even tsunami.
We have to move towards a zero-waste nation. If we cannot finish our food, we'll share them with our family members, or we could pack the leftovers in lunch boxes so that we could eat them later.
I can help by choosing my own reusable bag when I go shopping. This reduces the use of plastic bags.
减掉的有因而不到和配套口碑 will cut down the demand for paper.
We need to reduce the usage of electricity, making sure we do not cause pollution.
Machines can cause our air to get dirty, but we can power machines with clean energy.
Solar units help trap sunlight and convert it into electrical energy. Nature provides us with many resources, and it is important to take good care of them.
Imagine what we can do if everyone on Earth worked together to save our planet. Let's keep our oceans clear and clean, and use the 3 R's to be green. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
And love our planet Earth.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A big welcome to the Net Zero Singapore Sustainability Academy for our Saving Glaciers Alliance Reconnect panel. Before we begin, may I invite CDL's Chief Sustainability Officer, Ms. Esther An, to give us her opening remarks, please.
Well, really a big welcome. And don't you think all these kids are so adorable? And yes, we need to think and act as one community. That was the whole idea why we designed and built this Sustainability Academy and opened in June, World Environment Day in 2017. And some of you have been here, and but many have not. Allow me to just recap a little bit what was the reason behind we built this. With actually the support of 6 government agencies, and of course BCA is here, thank you Kevin. And then we have MSE as well, and Joseph is here. And then we have URA, NEA, NPARTS and all, that they are all very supportive of our Sustainability Academy. It's meant to be a hub, to bring people together and to talk about anything about climate action, sustainable energy, green building and all. And this is designed with net zero in mind, and the cross-laminated timber and glulam are all certified by Nature Barcode from the most sustainable forest source. And behind the curtain, actually, there's a SEAS, Sustainable Energy Association Singapore office on one side, and then the classroom behind. And we give them rent-free for them to engage and build capacity, not just for Singapore, but with the partnership of with ADB, we also build capacity for the ASEAN region. And then if I can have, show all these numbers here, and training and all these 700 events and training courses since 2017. Not too bad, huh? We're all working really, really hard. And then during COVID, we actually went online. We also continues to engage. And we engage in person, about 24,000 friends and, attendees here. And online, we can't really count. Tens of thousands, we really don't know how many. But I think the most important thing is we want to build a physical structure to show that net zero is possible. And if I can bring your attention here, we partner with Schneider, with RECs that cover the whole rooftop with solar panels. And this is a real-time tracker. This is from January 1st, 21st to now. The top bar is what we have generated, and the lower bar is what we have used. So all in all, we are net zero. And it doesn't go to waste. Whatever energy, it actually channel back to our mall. So that's the whole idea of Sustainability Academy, a humble space, but we engage a lot of people. And of course, you can see that not just the industry people, it's also a base for our Women for Green network. And we believe that women can drive change, at work, at home, and at play. And we have, this particular one is sustainable jewelry. My husband said that, yeah, you just find an excuse to look at bling bling. So actually we did like ecotourism, we do diet, and we do a lot sustainable fashion especially was very exciting. And it's also a base for us to engage youth. We have a youth for climate event. And yesterday, in fact, we worked very hard, Robert, and we have a dialogue with a lot of youth champions in Singapore, full house Sunday afternoon. So we really have hope, and we were very thankful that we have High Commissioner Kara also, attended our youth events, and thank you for coming again today. And now I think you are all here not to listen to me, and I just want to give a bit of background why we call this actually Reconnect of Saving Glacier Alliance. In fact, we actually launched it in 2019 November with Robert here. But unfortunately, 2020, everyone knows what happened, so we couldn't do much. And then Robert, I would let him tell the story. He was actually, he went to Antarctica, but had a fall. He will tell you the story. So now we are opening and tackling living with COVID already, so we can come back and reconnect. And yesterday we connect with youth and the public. We have a movie screening of Frozen, and we have a lot of young kids. Just now you saw the video, are the winners of the We Love Our Planet storytelling competition from 4 to 12 years old. So we want to engage everyone, not just industry, not just policymaker, but also youth and children.
Now, may I please invite our panelists, Melissa Low, Research Fellow at the National University of Singapore's Centre for Nature-Based Climate Solutions, Ang Qing Sheng, Lecturer and Filmmaker at the LaSalle College of the Arts, and Ms. Esther to join Sir Robert Swan for their panel discussion, please.
Yes, hi, I guess that all of you are like very inspired, and I can see some of you, the jaws are like a little bit open. And thank you again, Rob. This is the third or fourth time I heard the story, and every time he impressed me, totally, and I don't know what to say. He's always a nice, fantastic guy. And I let you take a break first, have some drink. I'm going to ask QS first, Ching Shen. He actually had first-hand experience following Rob and and the whole cruise to the Arctic. And QS is a very nice gentleman, a lecturer with LaSalle College of the Arts, and he's an award-winning filmmaker. and he's a very modest guy, and very quiet, very humble and all. And since he came back, and he has been supporting us. Just now, the video you saw, the little kids, it's produced by him. And he has produced quite a few videos for us, and an animation specialist. If you want anyone who wants to, get some expert, from support from him, talk to QS. And QS, I want to ask you, since you came back from the Arctics, how have you feel, that was it difficult, was it difficult to engage your students because you are teaching? And how do you think that are they really believing in climate change? Are they really believing that there is a threat? Although some of them may feel that, oh, what happened, North Pole, South Pole, we are in the tropic, it's too far away, How did you engage them and share your experience?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Ching Cheng. So it was 3 years ago, and I am actually not I'm a lecturer and I do arts. And it's like, it's a field that is kind of, people might think it's a bit far. So why am I even kind of joining this competition and everything, right? Because I truly believe that there's something that needs to be done, and it's also part of my own kind of, I like to not waste things. It's just part of my personality. So I want to do something for sustainability. That's why I took part in this competition. And 3 years ago, I had such a privilege to be funded by CDL and also GGEF and also OCBC Bank as well, to be on the expedition with Rob. Such an inspiring expedition and experience. It was, I think, about 10 days on a ship to look at the Arctic. I still remember I brought a lot of layers. I thought it was really going to be really cold. I even rent a shell, a huge one, and I had like 3 to 5 layers all prepared. Went to the Arctic. Oh no, I'm sweating. I put on the shell on my first kind of hike on land, and I was sweating. I didn't know it was not cold. It was like about in the day it could be 8 degrees, and I don't think it used to be that 20 years ago. So it changed my perspective of what Arctic, North Pole, South Pole. It changed a little bit of my perspective of what this is like. And after the trip, I went back to my students. I actually teach animation. Okay, I'm a filmmaker myself, creating some animated films. So when I went back to LaSalle, I was thinking, how can I actually put this experience of whatever I learned back to the students? And I don't think it is just about telling them, oh, climate change is real. Okay, you got to, do this, do that. No, I think being in the arts, I think storytelling is a big thing. I think, the basic thing about making films is you are thinking how to communicate with people by not being literal. I think that's one main thing that I can do with my students. So what I did is I actually through my teachings, I'm just teaching them animation techniques and all this. But I try to inspire them. I try to show them the video that I've made at the Arctic. I try to show them some of the kind of videos that I managed to take in the place. And I think they somehow, maybe not, I have a class that is like maybe 20 or 30 students. Maybe not all 20 or 30 students are listening, because some students will be like, yeah. But as long as you have that few students who are inspired, they take it with them, and they actually do something with it. So it continues for a few years, and it has been, in a blink of an eye, it's already 3 years. And I have actually been partnering with organizations like Jane Goodall Institute Singapore. We have been doing some animated campaigns to show at storytelling sessions that they have with children. And I think that will continue. You pass it on to a few children. When they grow up, they pass it on, these stories. So that's how I have been bringing this experience across.
Yes, we are totally aligned. Let all these impacts snowball and all that. Okay, so you use the arts to engage, but let me shift to Mel. She used data, facts, because she's a fellow researcher, and everybody knows that she is really a climate leader and also engage a lot of youth. And you have actually attended quite a number of COPs, right? And I think a lot of people may not know what happened at COPs because their attendance are very limited. So how was your experience attending COPs over the years? And did you really feel that or believe that, you know, whatever discussed at COPs or goals that set there will impact national level, will impact corporate and also individuals? Because I remember attending COP25 in Madrid, it came and gone and nothing really happened and the media didn't cover it. Only last year at Glasgow, pre-Glasgow, it was really a lot of media. During, there was a lot of media coverage. And after that, there was a lot. So everywhere I turn, I see Race to Zero. And in fact, I have my partner, the young partner, Cheryl, there, that we went there and actually ran the campaign of Keep Calm and love our planet, right, Cheryl? And that is really to counter climate anxiety among young people. And when we came back, we also, launched, some video and workshop. So from your own experience, you deal with a lot of, youth and all that, and you are actually briefing some of the youth that going to join you at COP27 coming in Egypt. Share with us, how as a researcher, how can you engage young people to amplify what you are advocating?
Thanks very much, Esther, and thank you for inviting to this panel. Very exciting to see so many familiar and also new faces. My first COP was COP15. I think some of you may remember that, Copenhagen. I actually went as a youth delegate with Eco Singapore. We had to raise money, so I know how that feels, not $5 million, but we had to raise some money, and we stayed in an attic of a suburban home in Copenhagen. 12 of us, young people. In order to save money and pay the rent for 2 weeks, we had to rent out the place to other Asians. So it was like it was almost like a slum, actually. It was pretty bad for the house had 2 bathrooms. But I don't want to talk about roughing it out in front of Robert. So it was actually comfortable by any measure. But 2 weeks, the first COP ever, was extremely disappointing. I think many of you remember this. Copenhagen became Hopenhagen and then Nopenhagen, right? So, so I actually missed the following COP because I was so depressed. I was like, okay, finish university and then get on with my life. And then I had the opportunity to join NUS as a researcher when I graduated, and then decided that, you know what, nobody's really talking about climate research, right? At least on the governance and the policy aspects. So I worked with my colleagues and we put together a program at the Energy Studies Institute where I was previously at. And we, with the help of our colleagues in the government, we got accredited to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And since 2014, it was the Lima COP, I recall, we became an official accredited organization with the UN. And since then, we've been bringing NUS staff, students, colleagues, anyone who's interested to go to the COP, to attend COPs. And like Esther, we've been doing a lot of capacity building, raising awareness about what the COP is like. Actually, it's really tiring to go to a COP. It's 2 weeks. You still got your emails to clear because you're still working, right, while you're there. And then you have to try and split your time between attending negotiations, observing the negotiations, because as NUS, we have a yellow badge, so it's an observer organization. So we try and split some time, go to negotiations, observe what it's like, so that we know what to tell people when we come back home, right? What happened? The media wants to interview us, on the outcomes of the COP. And so we have to do some work there. But at the same time, we have to rally up, as you say, young people. We do side events, we give talks. And this year we're going because Singapore is organizing its first pavilion at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. And NUS is very happy to be participating on several panel discussions. We're organizing some panel discussions. And Esther mentioned I'm organizing a briefing for anyone who's interested to know what COP27 is supposed to be discussing, what the agenda is, and also how you can contribute from afar or remotely. So I'll just stop there, and anyone who wants to say hi and talk to me about it later can just come up.
Yeah, but you need a lot of energy to run about. I still remember one day we had no time for lunch, right, Cheryl? We share one pack of chips, 3 of us, standing at, don't even have seats, right? Standing below some, don't know what staircase, and then 3 of us share one pack of chips, and then, okay, bye, we're going to go there, and then we're going to go there. So we were like all running around. You need a lot of energy and chicken accents. Okay, so now, Rob, really glad that you are going to spend a little bit more time in Asia. So if I give you a wish list, what do you think you can engage, businesses? We have a lot of business people here, we have developer, we have bankers, we have very senior people who can make decisions, influence their staff and all, and their stakeholders or consumers. What will you tell them, and how would you engage them to really snowball the impact of climate action?
I think anybody who's here has a strategy already on ESG, climate. People have a strategy. As I said, though, let's not forget the people in the engine room, the people who are behind you. And I think that I would like to feel that maybe I can help them in some way, possibly by doing a talk, possibly by taking them to go and do something, go and see what my son Barney's doing in Australia. I think that it's time to raise the game, which all business people are. Otherwise, you won't be in business for that much longer if you haven't raised the game. But I think I can help with employees, and I think that I could help in some way. I'm just doing a lot of school talks around the whole of Singapore. I think they are feeling a little hopeless, to be honest with you. That I'd just ask you to imagine what it's like being 18 today. And especially if you happen to be in London and it's plus 41 Celsius. What are you going to think? You're going to think, is it going to be 51 by the time I'm 30? So I think it's important that we inspire. I think it's important that we're hopeful. And I think that goes for business and employees too. So they really feel engaged. I think one of the biggest dangers is that fantastic companies and corporations make commitments. Yes. And then the employees hear about it and think, oh, great, it's all done. It's been done. The bosses have ticked the box. We don't have to do anything. I think where I come in is that I can possibly inspire them to say, yeah, you're doing these great things, but what are you doing? What are you doing at home? What are the little things that you can do to contribute on top of it? So I'm looking forward to doing that. And I make a commitment, Esther, if I say I'm going to do it, I'll be here. Because after the South Pole, that's it. I'm not going back to go and get cold again. I'm going to come and be warm here with all of you. And hopefully I can help in a small way with employees and just hope. I think hope's a good word.
Yes, definitely. And I think I don't want to hog the discussion here. It's not easy to have Rob here. And please, any question, anyone who want to ask question, please raise your hand. Anyone? Yes. We have the mic there at the back. Pei Rong and Dil. And while you're organizing your thought, is there any hand? Yeah. If not, I will just continue first. Mel, Singapore has the SG Green Plans 2030, and we are really, really happy that finally, DPM actually announced that Singapore has a plan for net zero by or around 2050. So as a researcher, as a climate, a champion for so many years, and with your very close interaction with young people, are you feeling that the young people are inspired by this plan, or they are just saying, oh, okay, Yeah. So what will you inspire them, and what will you turn their, hope to action?
I think a lot of people are confused about net zero, right? Like what it means, and Also, some people have said, why isn't Singapore, focusing on the number? I know the number is coming out, I'm told, before COP, right? So there is a youth dialogue happening very soon on the 21st of September, organized by the National Youth Council. So anyone who identifies as a youth, I don't want to say who, but if anyone who wants to come, please come, and we will talk about how we're going to get to net zero. I think that young people here, some of us are angry, some of us are upset and frustrated about, we're also facing some changes to our weather patterns here in Singapore, and sometimes seems that we're not doing enough. But I think, as Esther said, the Singapore Green Plan was a way in which the government brought together all of the mitigation plans from different sectors to try and inspire, right? And to sort of double down on the efforts. And I think that was really good. And I actually gave a talk at an MTI Shenzhen thing this morning to Chinese officials, and I thought it was really great that they want to learn from Singapore, and I think they were inspired by some of the policies that were put in place. I did want to add something to what Robert just said. There's some sense of responsibility when you get to go somewhere like a COP, right? Or you go to Arctic or Antarctica. It's almost as if you can't drop the ball or drop the baton, right? And I think sometimes, I don't know if QS feels this as well, that, if you know this stuff, if you research it, it's your day job, it's almost as if you can't show up for things, you can't not show up for things, right? And it's very tiring, actually. I don't know if any of you here feels tired. It's a Monday. But we keep going because it's important work, and if not you, then who, right? Who's going to do it? So I hope to inspire more people. You just need to show up for things. And if you don't have the vocabulary, go learn it. Go learn about the COP. Go learn about the alphabet soup that is the COP, right? And try. I remember pep talking Cheryl last year. She was going to give a speech somewhere. I won't say which company, but she was like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I said, you have to, because you owe it to your generation, right? You owe it to people who identify with you. And so I've always felt that way, and inspiring people through your own actions. And I think I just wanted to add that.
Yes, wonderful. Don't feel tired. I started in 1995. I'm still alive, so don't feel tired. Yeah, okay. And I see Sam, is it? Sam? Yeah, you have the mic, okay?
Hi.
Please share your thoughts. And Sam is a very good diver and have been working very hard in marine and coastal cleanup and all that, right? Yeah, you want to stand up and say hi to everybody so that they can see you?
Hi everyone. Thank you very much for the panel. Hi Mel. Hi Rob. Thank you so much for your sharing. And I think my question is that what you said about helping people in the engine room really struck me, because I'm working in corporate sustainability, and I'm that small fry that's trying to understand these global targets and how do we do it. And what you mentioned about being very impatient, that's how I feel as well. And as youth, we maybe don't have much time left. And I really think that I would like to understand as well from the panel, how do you manage that dissonance? That it's a long work to get there. And as a small fry, you need to maybe get a bit bigger and to truly drive change. But I think that impatient part of me is also struggling. And I think a lot of us as youth as well, we want to do so much more. So I guess this is an open question, how do you manage this, and how does it give you the energy to continue, especially when you're tired? Yeah.
Rob, do you want to answer this first? How are you going to engage the people in the engine room or construction site?
I think it's important that you're authentic and you're real, and there's no sort of greenwashing about it. And I think that's refreshing to people, because for so long there was a lot of talk and greenwashing, and it was just annoying. But I think that to engage the engine room, you need to be real, honest, and give people a sense that they can do something. Because everybody wants to do something, and that might not be a huge part of the corporate policy. But what are they doing, as I said, what are they doing at home? How are they doing with their transport? What are they doing with their energy? And are they, as I said last night, we just talked about it, it's not often a polar explorer comes to Singapore to get ready to be cold. But I do. You go to the movie house here and you have to take a jacket. It's madness. So, that's not only going to help you with your company and your team to make sure that we just raise the temperature a bit, but I think everybody feels that they would like to do something. And I think to inspire the engine room, don't overwhelm them. Just say, hey, you know, what about this? How about that? You know, can we crank things up 2 degrees? Could we do this? What are you doing at home? And how's your transport? I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed by this whole thing. And I think that leads to people doing 2 things. One, getting frustrated, or just say, oh, forget it, switch off, who cares? And none of those we should have. So I'm with you. Let's inspire the engine room and keep them engaged.
If I may add my own personal experience, you know, engaging the contractors, workers, and all that is not easy, especially in the early 2000s. You know, even when we talk about environment, health, and safety, we have a EHS policy. We go down to check construction site. I was told that my picture is at the security room that, you know, must tell the boss if this woman showed up. So I think we need to really be authentic. And then, you know, I still remember checking the toilet, you know, and I opened the door, like maybe 20, 30 flies through into my face, you know. So you really need to walk the talk and also walk the site and see what is happening. But fast track to today, we have a lot more help. The mindset has changed a lot. I mean, trust me, it's much better than 20 years ago. And in fact, we have a team of green building technology application team. And Ellen is my buddy to, you know, drive technology and all that. But we also must track performance. Setting target is one thing, just a beginner, like a beginning. But you must track performance and report it. That's why the whole world is talking about sustainability reporting. It's never easy. We actually really, even up to today, we are still engaging. There are more people who are converts. There are still a lot. Majority is like, you say whatever lah, I just do lah. If boss say, I do lah, you know. So there are some are really like, you know, yes, I want to do it with you. Yeah, but I think as big company, we also need to get the SME along our value chain together, and also our tenants. We are very glad that we have actually achieved 100% green lease since 2017. So once you set a very clear direction and guidance, then things will fall into place. If you don't even have like a green plan, nobody know what is your 80-80 goals, what exactly do you want to sail, whether north or south or east, is very difficult. So you need to get everybody on board first. And then slowly, we even have a EHS Cup, which is just soccer game, and get the contractors come together. And then on the side, we set up a lot of booths. Yeah, at health and safety, environment, what you can do as worker. So slowly, you know, not preach to them, but engage them. And I think, yeah, people are changing. I can see that they are changing. So just need to be a little bit patient. Yeah, things will not change overnight. Yeah. Is there any other? Okay. Yeah. Who is that? Yeah. Oh, okay. After.
Kop Tai, you want to go first?
Kop Tai, you want to go first? Kop Tai is our green architect and ADDP, and also the president of Singapore Green Building Council. Can you stand up so that everyone knows that, you know?
Esther, thank you. Well, actually, my question is not so much to do with green building and sustainability. I'm very inspired by what Robert did. I think it's something that I like to do, but not at that level. So there are a couple of things that crossed my mind. Number one is that, you know, when you're 11 years old, what makes you come in mind that you want to walk the North Pole and the South Pole? You know? I mean, there are so many things in the world that can do. Is it something that inspires you, you know, a person or whatever? That's number one. Number two, I'm sure when you are on the journey of North and South Pole, there are a lot of difficulty and challenges. And I'm quite sure that at a certain moment, you may feel like you want to stop. So the question is, what makes you overcome that challenge and keep on going? And the third question is, just for my curiosity, between North and South Pole, which is tougher for you? Thank you.
I'd say actually just one last thing on the engine room before I forget, is that you need to celebrate success, even if it's small. Okay, when I was 11, I'm so old, probably the oldest person here, but when I was 11, there were so many missiles pointed at each other from the Soviet Union and the United States that we could blow up the planet 3,000 times. And when I was 11, I thought, why? Once is enough, but why would we have all this stuff to blow us up 3,000 times? And it sort of upset me, to be honest, as an 11-year-old. I thought, this is why? And then I heard about Antarctica, where there were no wars and there were no people pointing bombs at each other. And that became something of a solace to me, even though I didn't know what the word meant when I was 11. Next question, what keeps things going? Well, I am good friends with my odd friends at NASA, where I like going. And as they say, you know, there's nothing out there for a really long way. We're on our own. So when you walk to both poles, you kind of get the feeling that we are this tiny little place in the middle of a universe that goes on forever. And right now, there's not much out there that is anything like us. And so it's pretty unique. And I am inspired to feel that together, all of us here, can do our very, very best to leave it so those 4-year-olds that we saw earlier can inherit something that, you know, is worth inheriting, because it's tiny and we're in the middle of this dark, great universe. And I think, you know, what keeps me going personally is that, you know, why not? You know, people often talk about why. I often feel, why not? And my mother was a great inspiration to me as a woman who had a tough time in her life on many occasions, but she had that resilience, and I think I got a bit of that from her. So I just keep trying, and you know, you get magic moments where here we are, all these wonderful people in a room. And this, to me, is inspiring. So I get inspiration from others a lot. And you should come on our ship to Antarctica one day. You'd enjoy it.
Okay, I'm mindful of the time, and I can only take one more question. Cheryl, yes? And yeah.
Oh, sorry, thank you for taking my question. So I'm Cheryl. Just to give a little bit background, so I engage with like youth as well on like environmental and climate education as well. This question is really for all 3 panelists. So sometimes when I'm engaging with like, you know, kids or, you know, people on the streets, right, about climate change, and then sometimes they just get really either one, confused, perplexed. But one thing that I always feel like, even in communications, there's this common narrative or mindset is like us versus nature. You know, us versus the environment, us versus this and that. And you know, sometimes in climate communications, when we talk about saving the planet and everything, it's almost as if we are fighting against nature. We're trying to protect something that we can't see. I wonder, how do you guys, you know, in your work that you do, right? How do you guys, you know, communicate that, you know, we are part of nature, and also communicate that nature solutions, and also how do you engage them in the messages that you guys do in your work? And what are the challenges that you guys face? So I think that's for all 3. Yeah.
QS, you want to start first?
So yeah, I'm probably not so good at convincing people, but I make films. I'm good at making films, I guess. So I think one of the things is when you are trying to communicate to someone, or when you're trying to just tell people something, I think because everyone has their own agenda, everyone has their own perspectives about life, I think it's important to not just use the same way to reach out to people. That's number one. And I think number 2 is you got to kind of understand where they are coming from first, I think. So when I okay, when I make films and all this, right, I think one thing that I keep putting in my approach is that I try to use metaphors. I try to use something that people might engage with. People might be more interested because of their various agenda, their various things in life. A metaphor that they can pick up, so that maybe they're hooked. They become more interested in what you're trying to say. And then from there, then I try to, slowly get there. I think that's my approach so far. Yeah.
Great. Melissa?
Thanks, Cheryl, for the question. So I'm not as artistic, and I, through my research, instead of writing journal papers, I end up doing commentaries, policy briefs, short pieces, right? So, because people's attention spans are limited. And obviously, if anyone's an academic in the room, it's career suicide, right? So, because you don't publish any papers, and it's tough, right? So as a researcher, you have to, that's how you get ahead. And I'm still trying to finish up my PhD part-time while working. It's really tough, and I think, Cheryl, you know this because we're friends and I tell all the time. I think it's just doing your best every day, putting out information that you're familiar with. Try and put it out in a way that is authentic, that is simple enough for people to understand, but then issue a call to action, right? Like, what can you do? You can identify the stakeholders that can act, knock on doors, call people up, email them. And I think a lot of young people have done that in Singapore. And it's something I'm afraid of. In the last 10 years, I've seen people go from my style, I think, of advocacy, which is very middle ground, to a style where it's a little bit, in my opinion, quite aggressive, which is fine. Of course, writing to MPs, staging a rally in Singapore with a license. And I'm so inspired because, 2019 Singapore had our first SG climate rally, right? I was there sitting at the back with a white brim hat. But I was afraid, but at the same time, I was so inspired by our youth, and I think everybody just gets to do their best, right? And I think that's all we can do, and the best should be enough. Thanks.
Yeah, yesterday we heard a lot of youth, how, MJ, a young girl has a follower of 170,000 youngsters. So you just need to amplify your voice. One person can influence, whether hundreds or thousands of people. So, Rob, do you have final message for everyone, or what will be the next big thing that you are going to do?
United States of America, not certainly because I enjoy being surrounded by fire in California, but I live in the United States of America because I spend a lot of time in places where if anybody was in this room, they wouldn't actually believe one damn word any of us were saying. They wouldn't want to believe anything that we're saying. And I quite like that. So when I go into those places, I don't want to mention the States or wherever it is, but it's fairly obvious, that I enjoy speaking to those people and I get some progress by not telling them that they're wrong. So somebody says to me, well, climate change doesn't exist. I say, well, I hope you're right. Fingers crossed you're right, but it looks possible that it could be happening, and maybe it's not something we're causing, and that could be natural, but it looks like we may be causing it. But if you turn it round a bit and say things to people, because I like to do things like not speaking to the converted, and I think that's something all of us should think about. Let's not speak to people who speak our language, and I'm not talking about English or whatever, but so I say to them, look, do you insure your car? They all say, yeah, we insure our car, sort of some enormous great vehicle, Texas. And I say, well, do you insure your house? And they say, yeah, we insure our house. And I say, do you insure your life? And they say, yes. And I say, well, you're lucky because no one will ever insure me, Rob, no one, who's going to insure Rob Swan? And I say, well, why do you insure things? Is it because your house is going to set on fire tomorrow, you're going to die at lunchtime, or your car's going to be stolen while we're speaking? They say, no. We do it just in case. And I have a lot of pleasure in saying, well, actually, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about trying to do the right thing just in case we are actually making this happen, which we all know we are, but it's a question of addressing and engaging with people that would not understand a damn word that we've been talking about all day to get day. And I think that's something I really like to do, because you draw them in. And maybe they're thinking, maybe, maybe buy an electric truck, and it's going to be exciting. In America, I promise you, they're bringing out, because they're all sort of like this, and they're going to bring out, the first Ford F-150 truck, which is the most popular car in America, that's going to be electric. And you can guarantee that all the sort of these people are going to love it because it'll go faster than the other one and probably can tow 500 tons more, on some trailer. So I think it's important that we all engage with people who aren't speaking our language and really getting involved with employees and people that you were mentioning it, and not challenging them, but pulling them in through the skills that all of us have. That's how I feel.
Thank you so much, and I think we really need to, all hands on deck to build not just infrastructure, but also sustainable cities and communities. And now I would like to invite High Commissioner Kara to share her thoughts after attending today and yesterday with all the young people. Yeah, can I invite you to come to the front? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So Esther, I'll stand here. So thank you so much, Esther, for inviting me today. I feel really inadequate compared to some of the people in this room and some of the people on the panel, and how much effort you all put into advancing this cause. Rob used this phrase about passing the baton on. And I think yesterday when you saw you engaging with the young people, including my own kids, you could really see that happening. Everybody was rapt. They were really listening about it. I kind of feel that you're not just passing the baton on once, though. You seem to have a massive, giant skip full of batons that you're passing to all of these different people, be it on renewable energy, be it on energy efficiency, focusing in on the things that everybody can do. I'm really struck by my own experience. You talked about turning up. You feel like you have to turn up. So the UK has been COP presidency for the last couple of years. We felt an awful lot of pressure to make COP26 a success and to actually change the way people were thinking about climate change. And I think this took many, many, many hands. This wasn't the UK, we were the presidency, but there were huge numbers of people that were engaged, not least leadership from here in Singapore, including the Environment Minister, who did a really important negotiation. But I really do think that COP26 has changed the dial. It's changed the dial because it's got the focus of the people who are investing in the most important bits of economic activity and making sure that the people that do the investing are thinking really deeply about how they can make an impact on the choices that companies and shareholders and consumers are making in the future. I'm going away thinking about, what are we doing in our own organisation about energy efficiency? We talk a lot about energy transition, but actually energy efficiency is massively important. What can we all do within our organisations to change that up? I'm thinking about the kind of regulations and rules that we set within our organisations. Those can be incredibly powerful, including a place like Singapore, because I think you're very good at applying the rules that are chosen. So it's fantastic that the regulators, people like BCA, people like MSC, are in the room and are really massively important in how this all develops. People who are wondering what they can do in their own sector, there's a fantastic number of organisations and processes that can help all companies grapple with how can we decarbonise, how can we make less of an impact through our own activity. You can join the Race to Zero, which we spent a lot of time promoting in the run-up to COP26. GFANS has now got an office here, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, and they are going sector by sector through economic areas of activity and drawing together the best advice that practitioners and companies that are working in those areas can draw on. The final thing is hope. The other thing that I've really taken from this, like you sort of feel the despair and the urgency, but I think hope, Rob, you and other people that are really engaged on a daily basis, we can't all feel despair. We have to feel that there are things that we can do. And even in my lifetime, when I first arrived in Singapore, and we've got some warriors like Joseph from MSc that have been working on environment issues for years and years, and at a time you must have felt like you were a lone voice. But I have found the conversations that I'm having here in Singapore, at the beginning when I first arrived here 3 years ago, it was often me that was bringing up climate and sustainability, and now it's almost impossible for me to have a meeting without that coming up at some point. And that gives me a huge amount of hope that that message is really kind of anchored, and the Singapore government deserves a lot of credit for that with the Green Plan. Thanks again.
Thank you, High Commissioner.
Thank you so much, High Commissioner.
And don't leave first. Rob will be around for another, until 7, and do interact and all that. So, well, I pass it back to Kaiwen.
Thank you. Okay, let us move on to the last part of today's program, our pledge to save and protect our glaciers. So the world is changing and the earth is warming. So maybe please scan the QR code on the screen here and join us to pledge our commitment to protect our glaciers.